All right, stay tuned, everyone. Should be ready in about 5 minutes.
piece was missing. Better late than never for you and me.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Ritter, and I will be your mindset coach this evening. So today we have an interesting blog topic that I wrote. And what better time than fall, right? We are getting into the cooler weather from scorching heats, 100 degrees if you're living in the south. If you're living up north, heat waves periodically, and then all of a sudden, boom, snuggle weather. But you're looking and you're saying, well, I don't know if I should find someone. I don't know if I should simply stay single, because staying single has its benefits, but also does being in a relationship, whether that be sexual access for men or emotional support if you're a woman. And it could be vice versa. Yes, you can be a man and look for emotional support, or a woman who just wants to have sex. Nothing wrong with that. But there is a difference between the two, right? Men versus women. And I think our roles have never been more confused than they are today. Not so much that we're not being taught how to be a man, or women are not being taught how to be a woman, but because society is telling either gender what is allotted to them. And if they operate under what is allotted to them, they're going to have a higher sense of entitlement. So if a woman wants to have a career, make money, and they put off to having kids until a later date, there is nothing wrong with that. However, there's consequences. When you elevate yourself in life, whether it be due to your own desires, your goals, and your ambition, or if you just want to live a certain lifestyle, there's going to be a barrier that you put as a woman when it comes to dating. And you might not think that there's going to be a barrier simply because you put yourself in a higher bracket of earner. Well, the truth is, you do. And you do it subconsciously. Mindset. It's crazy how the mind works, because if I make more money than you, and this is from a woman's standpoint, you're not on par with me. You're not on equal ground, equal footing. So you're beneath me. And this is not every woman. I'm sure there's women who make $1 million a year, and they have a guy who makes $35,000 working at McDonald's. But how rare is that? It is very rare. So rare that I wouldn't even know who to use as an example. So that means if it's so rare that a high earning woman goes for a low earning guy, what is happening in our society? Women are becoming career driven, and they want to go after their career. They want to make money, which is good. However, that barrier that you're placing, this is for the woman, between you and your potential mates is getting stronger. It's getting wider. It's getting taller. And is very challenging to overcome that type of barrier, that type of obstacle, if you're going to operate under that mindset where I'm looking for my equal. Because if you give a man a cabin, a dog, if he likes beer, maybe a 6-pack Bud Light, if he likes fishing, a fishing rod, it doesn't matter how much he makes as long as he can support his lifestyle. So that lifestyle that I just said, you can make $32,000, $35,000 and you'll be set. But if you're in a relationship, do you want your partner to earn more or less? And if you want to be politically correct, equal to what you make? That is a question. So today's blog post was talking about men versus women, and that obedience is not for men, but for women. And this is not to say that women are dogs. It is to say, if we had to choose men or women, who needs to be more obedient in a relationship? And if you want to think that obedience is going to be for training like you're a dog, that's your prerogative. It is not. It is simply saying who's going to be the person who's going to allow the other person to lead. And the person you pick, you better damn well trust them to lead properly. Ladies. And what I find is that ladies are not picking the right guy. They're not picking someone they can say, you know what? Whatever you need, babe, let's do that. I like that idea. It works. That's so smart, clever, whatever. But then the quality of men too. Has that gone down? Have men risen in times to the occasion and said, I'm going to be mightier than my ancestors. I'm going to be mightier than my grandfathers, my fathers? Typically, no. When it comes to a man, they say, okay, this is what I have, MacGyver. They look around, this is my environment. What can I make out of it? What is the best I can do? And though they may be able to achieve something great from that type of thinking, there may or may not be a block that's stopping them from going after more. Their mindset. Do they live in a world of abundance where they say, this is what's around me, but what is around me is not what is everything? What is beyond around me? What can I go after? What more is in store for my life? And getting to that point is a journey. It's a journey every man should undertake and understand that in order to have a successful life, you don't need to make millions of dollars. You do have to have a goal and you do have to have a plan. Success just doesn't fall into your lap because you say you want to be successful. There's work that needs to be done, and men, you have gotten lazy. You have become timid and afraid to do work. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to take time off every now and again and not want to have to feel like the world is on your shoulders. But that's your role, right? That's what society at least tells us. A man should protect and provide, and a woman should be feminine and listen to her man and follow, right? Typically, you have your traditional male, traditional female. But those roles are starting to change. We have our modern woman, And then we have our new era men. And the new era men are getting pretty smart. And then we're going to talk about that on another video. But today, we're going to get into the blog. And we're going to just take a look at what is really going on. Because if we start to see the difference between men and women, maybe we can understand what is our next steps in our relationships, what needs to be done. So if you head over to revenconcepts.com, you go to resources tabs and you go down to the bottom and you click blogs. You will have an abundance of reading material free of charge. You are welcome. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's post, August 30th, 2021. And it's talking about women need to be obedient, not men. So, is that true in every relationship? I don't believe so. But what this blog does entail is over 20 hours of interviews done to men and women. And what I composed at the end of those interviews was accumulation of all their answers. And there was simple discussion that the answers or the questions will be down below, I believe 1 through 5. But each of those questions invoked a great conversation. And a little bit about the people I was interviewing. They're educated. They're not your run-of-the-mill people who barely got a GED. These are people who went to college, people who found a career where they're making good money, decent money. And if they're not there yet, they will be, because they have a plan, they have goals, ambitions. These are people that you can look up to and be proud that you're an acquaintance to them. And I'd like to thank all the people who helped me in this interview process or in this blog writing, where they were able to answer the questions and then to have some cordial conversations about this. There was no arguments. There was no bickering. There was just two people having a conversation. And that's unheard of, especially in today's age, because who can have a conversation that is different than my opinion or the other's opinion without it becoming hostile? That's new too, right? So when we get into it, I want people to understand that this is a majority type of rule. So if 51% of the people, which would be 60% of the people say yes or no to something, then guess what? That's going to be the winner. Majority rule. And even though sometimes we were having our discussions and they wanted to give me a politically correct answer, I do notate that in our blog today, but I also have it so they have to give an answer. What if this? I understand you're not this type of person, but if you had to pick a man or a woman, what would be the answer? Man or woman? So I would always look for that. Okay? So let's get into our first area. And our first area is going to be personal growth and lifestyle. And it's going to be different, again, for everyone. But what is different is there's going to be some commonalities or some similarities between what most of the women want. And if you're a woman and you're reading your designated area, and you can still read the men's area, of course, But if that doesn't resemble you, do not worry. Do not say that, oh, everyone else is against you. That's not true. It's just that you have a different opinion. You have a different view, and there's nothing wrong with having a different opinion or different view. So looking at personal growth and lifestyle, which is different than having a career type mindset, because we're going to get into money in a little bit. So this is going to be talking about how people choose to grow. What type of lifestyle do they want? And I won't get into the nitty gritty of exactly the numbers and exactly what was spoken about and what they need. But what I will say is that for women in personal growth and lifestyle, it's a very comfortable life. They have a nice car, they have a nice house, they're not worried about bills, they have all the luxuries they could ever want. And whether they did that by themselves or with a man does not matter. They want that type of growth for themselves. And that's why there has been such a large movement or big push for the modern woman. And it's so they can feel empowered to get this without needing a man. Because logic in the 70s, around the 70s, started to mold and shift to saying, I can get my own, right? I don't need a man to do this, so I'm going to get my own. And that's what they did. They went out and got their own. So they stopped looking for men to give them the life they want. They said, I'm going to get the life that I want. And there's nothing wrong with that. So simply understanding that part is going to be crucial. Then we have our men. Men, we're easy. You can see in the paragraph here the difference, the discrepancy in what men want in their personal growth, personal life, right? They just want peace. They just want the simple things to go to work, have a job, maybe have a car to get to the job, unless you're in a big city where you might commute via Lyft, taxi, train, subway, whatever. But not much. So, according to men, they don't need much. And according to the woman I interviewed, they need a lot more. And there's nothing wrong with that discrepancy. However, what I see happen is men are happy where they are. Women are not happy where they are. So they go out. They say, you know what? I'm going to get a degree. I'm going to put myself in debt so I can have a better life. Men, well, I'll just go to trade school and then I'll come out and I'll get a career. A little bit different. Not wrong. Different. And when we get into career and financial, again, you can read it, right? Women want to get an education and find a comfortable occupation. And comfortable occupations do not mean an easy job. By no means. You can be a doctor, a nurse, a therapist. Those jobs are very stressful in their own regards. So you don't have to simply say, okay, I'm picking an easy job. Because that's not the case. They are picking jobs that are needed. They are picking jobs that require a higher education. But when it comes to men, men will go to school, but at the same time, they don't rely heavily on going to a higher institution. They will start a business quicker. They will find ways to hustle, be it trading, be it real estate. They're figuring it out. And that's important to know, because if they're going to be doing what they need to do to make money, then they can live any way they want. And I do get into the difference between the wage gap a little bit, but we're going to talk about that on another video series, because that's also important to understand. But that is important to know too. Then we go into our next area: family and relationship growth. Women are under this constraint of time. All right. They have a biological clock ticking in them. And that means at a certain age, they're going to have more difficulty, or there may or may not be more challenges if they want to bear a child. And that is why there's an issue happening in our world, where our, not world, but society, America, Western civilization, where the birth rate is actually the lowest it has ever been. And that's not by accident. It is by people deciding that I'm going to put off having kids until I'm financially set, until I have a house, until I have a high-paying job, etc. Right? The list goes on. But when that happens, we take away those precious years of when a woman is most fertile, and then go into the years where complications could happen. And I'm not saying that if you have a kid after 30 or 40 or 50, that you're going to have complications. I'm not saying that. We're just looking at the science. And you can have a kid at 35. You can have a kid at 42. People do it all the time. But when is the best time? And you might say, oh, politically correct answer. There is no right time to have a kid. And that's true to a certain extent, yes. If you're dirt poor, broke, living in a gutter, and you don't have a dollar to your name, you shouldn't have a kid. You're right. That is not the right time. That is not the right time to have a kid. So you need to get a job, figure out your life, make a plan, and then get to the point where if you do have a kid, now you can say, all right, now I'm better suited to have this kid. Okay. That makes more sense. But there's a problem, though. Now that we're waiting, we're already set before we get into our relationship. So I'm going to break that down. If you're set, that means you don't need anyone or anything. You're good. So if you're good, why do you need someone else? And it comes down to your thinking, and you're analyzing everything, and you say, you know what, I don't need this person. So the fact that women do want to have a relationship with a man, and they want to have a happy marriage, and all of those sweet things you see in the Hollywood movies of The Notebook or The Secret or whatever it be, that is being destroyed because we are operating under the idea, I don't need anyone, I'm set. And that's dangerous in a relationship because it gives you great power but it's a double-edged sword. You can be in a relationship with that person after you have kids. You don't have to be in a relationship with them because you don't need their financial support. Both ways. Men are going to pay child support more than likely. And the woman already typically has her job. Remember, these are educated women. They have a career. They don't necessarily need a man to do anything. They're independent. So once the man stops acting the way they want, they say, you know what? I don't need you. And they get rid of you. And it's not so much to find the next guy. It's to say, I already have a family now. I have a kid, thank you. But I'm not going to deal with your BS. So that BS that's happening, y'all can do that on your own time. Because guess what? I'm not going to stick around for it. And they don't. And that's why the majority of divorces are initiated by women. A drastic increase from when women were traditional and stay at home. So what is the difference? Simply working gave them the ability to want to leave? Maybe it plays a role, right? It's logical. How about the quality of men have gone down? So the women that pick the men are picking bad eggs, right? Rotten apples, whatever you want to call it. And they're not really satisfied with the pick. So they're like, I'm going to just go throw this apple away and get another one. But something happened when the modern independent woman movement came into place. Men saw what women were doing. And they said, sheesh, I can get away with what? Exactly. Because if we take a stroll to Google and we type in let's see, traits of a masculine man or woman, we're going to click man. So let's see what this is. And this one has a difference between masculine and feminine. So here we have masculine. You can see, I'll zoom in for you and I'll just go to the screen. We can see the difference. If you're a masculine man, you're authoritative, you're certain, you're debonair, self-assured, courageous, goal-oriented, protective, physical. Doesn't matter what your color is. You're easygoing, ambitious, funny, active, action-oriented, and spatial reasoning. Okay. But what happens if you are a feminine man? Okay. Maybe you're shy, timid. You like gossip. You might be more thoughtful, maybe a little bit more social, very sensitive. You're caring and empathetic, and you're very careful so you don't hurt anyone's feelings. You scare easily. You don't use common sense. You're fragile. You're weak. Woman, Ladies, if you had to choose between a masculine man or a feminine man, who would you pick? You can answer that now. If you pick the masculine man, he's going to have some vices, some traits you may or may not favor. But you have to deal with them if you want a masculine man. And vice versa, there's going to be weaknesses in a feminine man that you either have to fill the shoes, meaning you need to take a masculine role, and you might like that. There's nothing wrong with that either. Because in a relationship, you want balance. Someone has to be masculine and someone has to be feminine. So ladies, do you want a masculine man or a feminine man? Because I can tell you this. Men want a feminine woman. So if that's the case, and men want a feminine woman, what are the traits of masculinity? We talked about it. And those traits are very common with our modern woman and our independent woman movement. So now these women are doing necessarily what men would do. They'll go out, sleep with countless guys or have several partners and not understand the repercussions it's going to cause later down the road. You see, men can have as many kids as they want in a year. But a woman can only bring one pregnancy to term each calendar year. And that says something. The human genetics and the evolution of humans made men able to have multiple kids a year. It would be with different women. And if you look at history, that's what they did. The strongest men would have relations and children with all the ladies. And it wasn't shied upon, because what the woman was looking for was some type of security, was understanding that the man they laid with is someone they can rely on, someone they can trust to handle the business per se. And what has happened in this family and growth is men may be more feminine, maybe masculine, but at the same time, they see women being, I'm going to use the term loose, but I'm just going to say having options, right? And they say, well, if they don't want to commit to one person, why should I have to commit to them? So men are not readily willing to have a relationship with a woman who is A, masculine, and B, not holding her chastity for the man she decides to marry or have kids with. And again, educated woman. This is not your 18, 19, 20-year-olds saying, oh, I can do whatever I want. I'm on OnlyFans and I make all this money. Okay, whatever. This is not them. This is for my grown folks. Understand that. So, men want to have children. They typically want to have a son. And they want to have that son to instill wisdom and to carry on his legacy. And though that is very nice, for a man, it is not necessary because he can have a daughter and do the same. But at the same time, he understands what it is to be a man. Because being a man is not as simple as, oh, I'm going to go out, go to work, come home, all the bills are paid. Oh, someone broke in the house, I got to beat him up. It's a little bit more than that. Especially in a marriage. And especially in a relationship. And that's why you want to read this blog. Because you want to understand, like, what is the difference between women and men when it comes to family relationship. And you can see it's a long one. So that means you need to figure that out for yourself. Because this information here gives you what the majority of educated men and women are thinking. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to assume you are amongst those educated men and women. And then we get into our last area, and that is going to be our health and fitness. And when you go to the gym, what do you see? You see people, and they are there, and they're ready to get to work. They are ready to get down to business. So when that's the case, what is happening? What type of things are happening? So it's important to understand that, number one, but then to pay attention to the people, right? Are they already in shape? Are they trying to get in shape? And for both men and women, they want to be fit. And I went a step beyond. I said, well, what do you want in a partner, right? Like, what do you want? So women would say they don't want anyone severely obese, like they can't touch their toes. They're not going to have a heart attack tomorrow. They want someone relatively healthy. They don't have to be a supermodel or anything like that, but they want someone who is somewhat in shape. Nothing wrong with that, right? Men want the same. They want someone who's going to be in shape. They don't want anyone that is going to be heavier than them. They don't want someone who's going to have bad hygiene because of their body and maybe of an inability to do so because of their size, to have proper hygiene. And I'm not saying that guys don't like big ladies, because there are men who like big ladies. And I'm sure there's ladies who like big guys. In the interviews, I did not find any of those. So I can't speak on the people I spoke with. But what they did say is that they want someone who holds fitness as a value to them. And this is from educated people. And I want to break that down a little bit more, because educated people are not in it for 5 days, 10 days. They want 10, 20, 30 years. That's what they're looking for. So they don't want anyone who's going to keel over the moment they see a flight of stairs. They want someone who's going to be able to rise to the occasion, run when they need to. They don't want someone who doesn't hold their self-image, their body image, as valuable, as a priority. Important to understand that. So, who looks at looks more, men or women? And I would say it's going to be relatively the same. A woman is not going to look at a man who is 300 pounds overweight and say, ooh, I'm going to get with him tonight. Very rare that's going to happen. Same is true for men. But for men, if the options run out, nothing a few Bud Lights can't fix, right? And that's what happens. Men will operate on a necessity type of relationship. This is all that's left for me, right? This is all I can get. So I'm going to get it. This is all that's available, and I'm going to take what I can get. Women, on the other hand, don't need to do that because they control sexual access. A woman can go into any location, let's say a bar, and as soon as she walks in, I'm looking to get busy tonight. Who's ready? Any takers? She might have a line of takers. Doesn't matter the size. But if a man did that, all the women in the bar, ladies in the bar, would look and discuss like, ugh. No, thank you. And then they're going to proceed to talk about said man to their friends. Can you believe him? Can you believe he just said that? Who would want to be with him? Interesting, right? Not really. Because what men have learned in relationships is that, yes, ladies, you control sexual access, but we are in charge of who gets relationships. And I'm not saying a woman cannot ask a man to marry them, to be a boyfriend to them. They can, right? It's 2021. Anyone can do anything they want. But do you want to take that masculine role? And a masculine man will most likely turn you down. A feminine man, yes, baby, let's do this. And that's important to understand because you need to have balance in a relationship. So when we compare the two, men versus women, there's a balance that needs to happen. So if a man wants to be masculine, right, or feminine, doesn't matter, his counterpart has to weigh out that difference. And I asked the ladies, if you're watching, would you like a masculine man or a feminine man? Which one did you pick? And if you want a feminine man, cool, not a problem. But the majority of ladies will most certainly pick a masculine man. And the reason for that is because of genetics, because of evolution. A woman does not want a man who cannot protect her. And I'm not saying a woman can't protect herself. I'm not saying that. What the brain is telling the woman to pick is different. A woman is not going to say, oh, I'm going to go with this guy because, at the first signs of danger, he'll run away. He's really good at running. He's just my type. That's not the case. There's going to be some regression when it comes to choosing a masculine or feminine guy. So if a woman who's independent, modern woman, strong, doesn't need a man, sees a masculine man at the bar, or the club or church, it doesn't matter where, grocery store. And the woman, the lady, is like, I'm going to go up to that guy and I'm going to talk to him. And the masculine man is going to be flattered. Like, okay, yeah, sure. You want to go out? Not a problem. And he's going to go out. He will. But if you ask him to marry you, he maybe, who knows? Depends on the person. But let's go back to that first interaction, right? Lady goes up to the guy saying, I really like you. You look cool. I'd like to get a drink. Cool. Now the date's set. Numbers are exchanged and a time is set for the date. So on the date, they're talking. Good conversation, right? But then the bill comes. Who pays? Is it this modern and independent woman who has her own, or is it the man? Because he needs to be masculine. He needs to be chivalrous. He needs to be the man and pay for the first date. Regardless if he was asked out or if he asked them out. Because stigma is going to say if a man does not pay in the first date, he is no good. Stigma. Opinion. But you spend all this time wanting to be modern or independent. So you say, let's split the bill. And for me, I consider this a trap. Let's split the bill. Okay, we can split the bill. I will agree to split the bill if I never want to see you again. I didn't waste anything on you. That's my take. For when it comes to modern women, they want to feel like they're still taking care of themselves. They want to solidify in their mind saying, wait, I don't need a man to pay my bill. I can do that myself. And I'm going to continue to do that myself. And they do. And the guy might string along a little bit, even though he may or may not want this woman long term. He might have already decided this lady is too pushy. She's too aggressive. Masculine traits. She's not being feminine. She's not being caring, etc. Or like whatever the man is looking for. So they have relations and the man gets what he wants, sex. And the woman got what she wanted with sex. But now she's looking for a relationship. Looking to settle down. But the man doesn't really want to settle down. Because he already got what he wanted. So he leaves. Or he gets another girl and he carries on. And this modern woman is saying there's no good men left. All men are dogs. Which they are. All men are dogs. So how do we fix it? Men versus women. How can we get relationships to last more than 3 years? How can we get those relationships to last a long time? A lifetime? Those are the questions we're going to be answering this entire month. We're going to be breaking down relationships from men and women's perspective, but understanding both sides. And when it comes to a lady's standpoint on a relationship, I will be using the knowledge I have had over the years and gained over the years to give the best answer available to me. And I can always go to Google and read a blog or find a doctor who wrote an article about dating in a relationship. I already did my due diligence. I've done my research. So this is not an opinion piece. It's going to be a factual piece also. Because there's a reason why relationships are not the same as they used to be, especially in Western civilization, in Western society. It has become very easy to have a relationship and then to get rid of a relationship, aka a ghosting. And that's fine. You're not wrong for how you want to act. You're not wrong, or you're going to be in prison for dating who you wanted to date. This is not that. But the blog was written for us to set the premise of a relationship. You typically want a masculine person and a feminine person in the relationship. You don't want too masculine. You don't want too feminine. You typically want balance. Now, can it work between two feminine types of personalities, two masculine types of personalities? Yes, it can. I'm sure it has been done. But that is so rare, we're not going to be talking about that quite often. We're going to be talking about what the majority of relationships are going to be. Your heterosexual, masculine, and female type relationships. So if a modern woman or an independent woman is unwilling to become feminine for her man, for the person she wants to be with or have a relationship with, why should he have a relationship with that person, especially if he's a masculine man? Because if we're looking at statistics, masculine men are going to be more challenging to find. And if we add the stigma of how much they're earning, because we talked about this in the beginning, I want someone who makes equal or more than me. That number and that percent has gone down drastically. So if you want to find an average guy and you're a high earning lady, cool. If you're a high earning guy and you want to find a lady who's not a gold digger, cool. And we're going to be spending this month figuring that out. Working through the mindset, because a relationship is a mindset. How do you view your relationship? Is it something that's temporary? Is it something that can be easily replaced? Or is it something that you're going to hold and cherish for a long time, for a lifetime? Somewhere along the way, traditional roles have become mudded. No one is taking ownership of their roles. And I'm 100% sure there's going to be a good amount of traditional men. And I'm sure the same is for women, right? There's going to be a lot of women who want to be traditional. However, what they want and what they do because society tells them is different. Society says go to college, get an education, kids can wait, have your career first, then have a family later. And there's nothing wrong with that way of thinking. However, what's most important to you? To be strong and independent and alone for the rest of your life? Or to have someone who can be the person you look up to as a leader, as someone you would wish to follow, and saying, this person is everything that I'm going after, everything I am looking for. So whatever they need, I'll take care of it. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, the roles have to be there. There's a leader and a follower. And if we look at the majority of masculine men, the high earner men, they want a feminine type woman. And a feminine type woman has to have the ability to follow the man. And if she does not have the ability to follow and listen to the man, he's going to find someone who has that ability. And we're going to be talking about that this month. We're going to be breaking down relationships. We're going to be breaking down those little sectors. We're going to be talking about mindset, why people do things, why do they not do things. And this is going to be powerful. So our first month, we talked about mindset. Our current month of September, we're going to be talking about relationships and the entirety of them. What does that mean for you? And then from there, we're going to be getting into more mindset, general life stuff. Every month is going to be something new, something we talk about and we dive into deeply. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can email me at coachinginsession@gmail.com. Feel free to leave some description, whether you would like for me to answer the question in an email or if you would like for me to answer the question on the video series. That's up to you. And if it's very personal to you and you don't want me to share it, just also put that in the email. I'll give you my opinion, my answer, and then from there you can continue to watch. And if you have a question, you can always ask in chat. Also, if you are in chat, feel free to always ask a question and just simply say, hey, I have a question about what you said. And at the end of the video, I will get to your question. Now, if there is a break where I am able to get to your question immediately, I will take that opportunity. So, powered by your questions and your desire to become better, a better person, a better human, and to have a better life. Changing your mindset to be more focused on where you need to be, right? What direction you want to go, what's going to determine how your mindset is. What are you focused on? So until next time, I will see you again 7 p.m. on Wednesday, September 2nd, I believe, or 1st, September 1st. And we're going to be diving more into relationships, and we're going to be talking about a relationship book, a book that is probably going to be your best friend, especially if you're not married, because you're going to see the nitty gritty of what a relationship turns to when you put a ring on it. Because sometimes it's not all rainbows and sunshine. It's a lot of tears and a lot of regret. So how can we avoid that? Stay tuned to our next episode on Wednesday. And until then, take care.